By now, you've probably heard of a game called Arc Raiders. This is a PvPvE extraction shooter made by Embark Studios, who also made the finals. Now I know what you're thinking, oh, another extraction shooter, but this one is different, and it's not just me that thinks that. On Twitch alone, at the time of making this video, Arc Raiders has more than 54,000 concurrent viewers, which makes it the 7th most viewed category on Twitch, just behind Call of Duty Warzone, and just ahead of League of Legends. So what makes this game so good? The answer is a lot of different factors coming together to offer one well-polished experience. The audio in this game is incredible. The way gunfire crackles in the distance, the sound the AI makes when it's just noticed you, the soothing rain droplets and wind, paired with the damn footsteps of your character, everything just sounds like it should sound, which is simply not how a lot of other games work. Arc Raiders was made in Unreal Engine 5, which offers very good visuals, and boy, does that show in this game. The guns, the clothing, the environments, buildings, AI, everything looks so good, and the visuals are realistic, so there are no hit markers, and there's actually pretty minimal HUD, which adds to the immersion of the game. For example, when downing a player, instead of getting a red hit marker, you'll just see a red flare shoot up into the sky, which looks awesome every time, and somehow adds to the satisfaction of the kill, in my opinion. The gameplay is just great. The movement is fluid, and you can chain both actions and animations together seamlessly. The combat feels weighty and rewarding. The AI enemies are actually scary and challenging, but not impossible. And the best thing is that there are so many different ways for you to play. You can just play like a rat and slowly stealth through every single area, or you can go guns blazing. And while it is true that you can do that in other similar games, Arc Raiders has a skill tree, which allows you to specifically cater to your own playstyle. So for example, there's a skill that increases your crouched movement speed, and there's another one that increases your stamina. You earn these skill points by completing tasks, which so far haven't felt too repetitive, and they actually tend to encourage a little bit of exploration as well, which is cool. Like, the game will tell you the vague area of where an item you have to find is, but not the exact location, which means you can spend a whole raid trying to find that specific point, which I personally love. I think it's a nice balance between hand-holding the player and not telling the player anything at all. Additionally, the items themselves tend to have multiple purposes. For example, there's an item called an Arc Power Cell, which can be recycled into other materials, sold for currency, or it can be used to repair a small amount of your shields, which is obviously pretty useful, and there are multiple items that have this kind of multi-purpose use, which is cool, and I think quite unique as well. In a lot of other extraction shooters, if you lose maybe 10 raids in a row, you're probably going to be quite poor, and the next loadout you go in with is probably not going to be very good. In Arc Raiders, because of the way the crafting system works, you can do a lot of failed raids and still have pretty solid stuff. On top of that, there's also just an option to go in with a free loadout, and this doesn't have any type of cooldown like Scavs and Tarkov. You can just do it whenever you want, which is very cool. In its current state, the game is solo friendly, meaning if I enter a game as a solo, there is a very high chance that everyone else in that lobby is also solo. A lot of recent extraction shooters have encouraged trios, such as Delta Force and Marathon, but I actually dislike that quite a lot since I'm mostly a solo player, and therefore I enjoy playing by myself, which is very possible in this game, even if you're just a casual player. So we've already established that if you're solo, it's very likely you'll enter a game with other solos, but this game also has kind of a persistent servers feature. Each raid lasts 30 minutes long, and some of the time, I'll load in at the start of the raid when there's, let's say, 29 minutes left, for example, but other times I'll load in when there's only 18 minutes left, which means the raid has already been ongoing for 12 minutes. This is definitely very unique, but I don't mind it, because there are certain kind of dynamic events that will happen in-game halfway through the match to keep the AI spawning and things like that. Other players will likely be loading in as well, and this mechanic probably really helps with matchmaking times too. The game is just simply optimized well, which I feel like we're seeing less and less frequently from AAA studios these days. I've seen people saying they're getting 120 FPS while on 4K resolution while streaming and recording, and considering this is, you know, the second tech test for the game, that's pretty damn impressive. My personal performance has also been very smooth, so this should be largely accessible in relation to whatever specs you are using, which is a very good thing. You're not going to need a NASA computer to run the game, even though it's made in Unreal Engine 5 and looks amazing. I think the real it factor that this game has that many people have kind of tried to describe is just because of the way that all of these different factors just come together so well and kind of change this slightly from an extraction shooter to an extraction adventure. And that's actually what the game is described as on Steam, an extraction adventure. It somehow almost feels more like an experience instead of a game. So similar to other extraction shooters, in Arc Raiders you have a kind of hub or base where you can install and then upgrade various workbenches. These workbenches are used for crafting anything from guns and ammo to shields and other crafting materials. You can just buy things normally, but everything in this game is significantly more expensive to purchase from traders than it is to just craft yourself. This creates a very good gameplay loop in my opinion, since you're always going to be on the hunt for specific materials so that you can keep crafting or upgrading stuff. There are a lot of other things I could talk about here, like the balancing, the traders, the quests, the UI, and so on, but since those aren't the most impactful things ever, I am just going to put those to the side for now. But I will say, as a whole, all of the stuff I'm not mentioning is also good in my opinion. Like, for example, very quickly, in other extraction shooters, sometimes there will be too many traders and it will be pretty hard to manage, like in Dark and Darker, for example, or Escape from Tarkov. There's a lot of traders and it can be pretty annoying to keep clicking on the different ones and accepting the different tasks and trying to figure out whose task belongs to who and all of that kind of stuff. But in Arc Raiders, it keeps it very simple and it doesn't feel too saturated, and that goes with all of the other stuff that I'm mentioning here, but not really going into too much detail about. Also, I just quickly want to make a shout out to the shoulder swap. Whoever's idea it was to implement the shoulder swap, I hope you get a raise. This is now my favorite single mechanic in any video game ever, and it's going to be very hard for me to play any third-person game that doesn't have this implemented. It's actually insane how useful this mechanic is. Thank you so much for watching. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below what your favorite thing about this game is. And just as an FYI, this wasn't a sponsored video. This wasn't sponsored at all. I just really like this game. I think this game is going places, and I think it's going to be pretty huge when it comes out, let alone in the tech test, which is already pretty big. So, there you go. Farewell.